Good day, everybody. Today we are going to continue with our lecture on beginning statistics part 2. So last time, let me share my board with you first. Hmm. So last time we talked about sampling error and non-sampling errors. So the results obtained from a sample survey may contain two types of error. They are called sampling and non-sampling error. Okay. The sampling error is also called the chance error. Chance error. The non-sampling errors is this should be called is also called the systematic error. So two types of error. One is sampling error and two is the non-sampling error. The sampling error is also called the chance error, and the non-sampling error is also called the systematic error. So let's first discuss about sampling or chance error. Sampling or chance error. Okay, sampling or chance error. Okay. The difference between a sample result between a sample result and the result we would have obtained by conducting a census. Remember, census is a count of the entire population. Conducting a census, that is count of the entire population. Entire population. Okay. It's called the sampling error. The sampling error. It's called the sampling error. Assuming the sample is random, the sample is random, and no non-sampling error has been made. Non-sampling error has been made. Error has been made. So again, to repeat, the difference between a sample result and the result we would have obtained by conducting a census count of the entire population is called the sampling error, assuming, of course, the sample is randomly drawn and no non-sampling error has been made. So then the question becomes, what is non-sampling error? Okay, so let's create some space. So the non-sampling error, let's define this. Let me take care of this. So non-sampling error. Non-sampling error. Okay. So what is non-sampling error? Okay. The errors that occur in the collection recording and tabulation of data of data are called non-sampling error, or sometimes also called biases or biases. Okay. Or biases. Let me take care of this. Or biases. Okay. So how do we avoid? How to avoid non-sampling error? How to avoid non-sampling error. Okay. Non-sampling errors can be minimized. Minimized. If questions are prepared carefully, questions are prepared carefully, questions are prepared carefully, and data are handled cautiously. Are handled cautiously. Okay. Many types of non-sampling errors. Can occur in a survey. In a survey. Including selection error, selection error, non-response error, or involuntary response error. Response error. What is a voluntary response error, you ask? When people out of their own will participate in a survey and express their own opinion. They have not been asked to participate in the survey, but out of their own volition, out of their own desire, they participate in the survey, and they usually produce biased survey answers. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about some of the errors more. So we'll talk about selection error. Selection error. The list of the members of the population that is used to select to select a sample is called the sampling frame. For example, if We use a telephone directory to select a sample. The list of names that appear in the directory make the sampling frame. Make the sampling frame. Okay. In this case, we will miss the people who are not listed in the telephone directory. In the telephone directory. Okay. The error that occurs because the sampling frame, the error that occurs because the sampling frame is not representative of the population is called the selection error or bias or bias or bias. Okay. Okay. So moving on. We have other kinds of errors. Non-response or error bias, for example. So let's create some space. Maybe we will change the color. Mm, Let's see if that works out good. Or maybe we'll use this. This might work out good. Okay. So another is non-response or error bias. Non-response, error bias. Error bias. Okay, non-response or error bias. The error that occurs because many of the people because many of the people included in the sample do not respond to survey questions is called the non-response or error bias. Non-response error bias. Okay. There can be also a response error bias. Also, you ask response. Response error. Oops. Let me clear that. Response. Reduce it a little bit. So, response error bias. What is the response error bias? The response error bias occurs when people included in the survey do not provide correct answer. Correct answers. And okay, so maybe yes. Okay, do not provide correct answers. And what is voluntary response bias? What is voluntary response bias? Occurs when a survey is not conducted on a randomly selected sample selected sample. Randomly selected sample, but on a questionnaire questionnaire question questionnaire. Let me correct that. Write it properly. On a questionnaire published in a magazine in a magazine or newspaper. And people are invited are invited 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 to respond to the questions. To the questions. Okay. So now we are going to talk about random sampling techniques. So we are going to talk about random sampling techniques. Okay. So we are going to talk about random sampling techniques. First one is simple random sampling. Simple random sampling. Simple random sampling in this sampling technique, each sample of the same size, same same size has the same probability or has the same chance of getting selected, of getting selected. Okay. Such a sample is called a simple random sample. Okay. Next is systematic random sample. The systematic random sample. Okay. In systematic random sampling, random sampling, sampling. Okay. We first we randomly select one member from the first K, where K can be where K can be any number, any positive number. From the first K units of the list of elements based on a given characteristic. On a given characteristic. Okay. K is the number obtained by dividing the population size by dividing the population size by the intended sample size. Then every kth member starting with the first selected member with with starting with the first selected member. Member is included in the sample. Example. Suppose we are inspecting a production line which produces, say, 900 lithium ion batteries in an hour. Also, suppose we want, let me create some space. We want a sample of size n equal to 30. Then 900 divided by 30 is equal to 30. So we start by inspecting battery number 30, number 30, and every 30th battery after that. The batteries we will inspect will be numbered 30, 60, 90, 120, and so forth. Okay. Now we are going to talk about stratified random sample. Okay, so let me create some space. Okay, so we're going to talk about stratified. Maybe reduce the base unit. Okay, so this is the data. Okay. So we are going to talk about stratified random stratified. Let me erase this and go back to this pen and increase this slide bit. Okay, so here, I want to rewrite this. The stratified random sample Okay, so what is stratified sample? In a stratified random sample, we first divide the population into subpopulation, which are called strata, which are called strata. Okay. Then one sample is selected let me change that. Then one or more samples are selected from each strata, which makes stratified random sample. Oops. Let me take care of that mess. Let me use this. It makes the use this and rewrite it. Which makes the stratified random sample. Suppose I'm selecting a sample of students from the population of students at an university. I can divide the population into 4 subgroups or strata, which are freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. Then I can randomly select students from each group, students from each strata. Okay. Next is cluster sampling. Cluster sampling. Okay. Here, the whole population is first divided into geographical groups. Geographical groups. Geographical groups called cluster. Each cluster is representative of the population. Of the population. Then a random sample of clusters. Of clusters is selected. Finally, a random sample of elements from each of the cluster, each of the clusters is selected and interviewed. So the difference between cluster sampling and stratified random sampling is in a stratified random sampling, we divide the population into strata. Each strata have the same characteristic. Then we randomly select members from each strata. On the other hand, in a cluster sampling, we divide the population into clusters, but we then randomly select some of the clusters and interview randomly members in the selected cluster, okay? And interview each interview from each, okay? So that is the difference. Okay. Now let's we are going to discuss about experimental study and observational study. Experimental and experimental study and observational study. Experimental study and observational study. Suppose, let me erase this. Okay. So now I'm going to underline it correctly. Okay. So suppose two diets, diet 1 and diet 2 are being promoted. Promoted by two different companies. Okay. Suppose each company claims each company claims that its diet is successful in reducing weight. Okay, is successful in reducing weight. A researcher wants to compare the two diets. To compare, wants to compare these diets with regards to their effectiveness. With regards to their effectiveness for losing weights. Following are the two alternatives. Are the two alternatives. Mhm. What are the two alternatives? One, the researcher contacts as many people as possible who are using those diets. And collect information and collect information on their weight loss. Based on this information, based on this information, the researcher makes a decision. Makes a decision. The researcher, let me clean this up. The researcher makes a decision. The researcher makes a decision about the comparativeness, about the comparative effectiveness of these diets. Effectiveness of these diets. Of these diets. Comparative. If I take my eraser. On these diets. Okay. This is an example. An example of observational study. Mhm. Okay, now let's create some space and let's talk about the second type of study, which is experimental study. Mhm. In the second type of study, the researcher, oops, the researcher selects a sample of people or persons who want to lose weight. So this is selects. Selects. Yeah, selects. Let me clear that. The researcher selects a sample of persons who want to lose weight, who wants to lose weight, and wants to lose, who wants to lose weight and randomly divides the sample into two groups. Divide the sample into two groups. The sample into two groups, okay, and assigns each group to one of the two diets. And assigns each group to one of the two diets of the two diets. Then she compares the two groups with respect with regards to the effectiveness of these two diets. Okay, this is an example of experimental study. Okay, so I will stop here today. If you have any question or comment, write me a note. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that. If you like this video, share with your friends. You and your friends, please subscribe to my channel by hitting the red subscribe button. I'm coming back the next time to complete this chapter and start with a new chapter. And again, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that. And please share this video with your friends. And you and your friends, please subscribe to my channel, Math Science Topia. I solve all kinds of problems, math problems, from algebra to statistics. And please do not forget to watch me tomorrow when I'll be back with another solution, another discussion. Okay. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a nice day.